Hello, New York Yankees fans. We have brand new exclusive videos and the latest news for you. Before we get started, we'd like to invite you to join our channel and give this video a like. It's crucial to get exclusive access to the latest updates. There's a growing tension surrounding the expectations placed on the New York Yankees, and it is starting to spark a serious debate across the baseball world. For years, the spotlight has naturally gravitated toward the Bronx, where winning is not just a goal, but an obligation embedded in the very identity of the franchise. But now, that long-standing narrative is being challenged in a way that is impossible to ignore. The comparison with the New York Mets has never felt more relevant, especially when you look at the financial commitment and the results each organization has delivered on the field. The conversation takes a sharp turn when you factor in the aggressive approach led by Steve Cohen, whose ambition to transform the Mets into a powerhouse has come with an enormous price tag. We are talking about a payroll that pushes the boundaries of what has ever been seen in Major League Baseball, yet the return on that investment has not matched the scale of the spending. After a season that ended in frustration, falling short of postseason baseball in dramatic fashion, the pressure is no longer something that can be brushed aside or redirected. It is real, it is immediate, and it is building fast. Meanwhile, the Yankees have quietly continued to perform at a high level, putting together a strong campaign that saw them win 94 games and push beyond the initial playoff barrier. Even though they did not reach the ultimate goal, their consistency reinforces the standard that has defined the organization for decades. The expectation is not simply to compete, but to dominate, and anything less is viewed as falling short. That mentality traces all the way back to the influence of George Steinbrenner, whose philosophy still echoes throughout the franchise today. What makes this situation even more fascinating is how the pressure seems unevenly distributed. Despite having a shorter championship drought and a more stable track record in recent seasons, the Yankees continue to carry the heavier burden in the public eye. On the other side, the Mets, who have not celebrated a title since the late 1980s, are now entering a phase where patience is rapidly running out. This is no longer a rebuilding story or a long-term vision. This is about delivering results right now. The spotlight is also intensifying around key figures within the Mets organization. Manager Carlos Mendoza finds himself in a position where every decision could have significant consequences, and the margin for error is shrinking with each passing game. At the same time, the architect behind the roster construction, David Stearns, is facing scrutiny for the bold choices that reshape the team. Moving on from familiar faces and investing heavily in new pieces has created a roster filled with potential, but also uncertainty. There's a sense that this version of the Mets is still searching for its identity, trying to balance star power with cohesion on the field. Questions about defensive stability, positional adjustments, and overall chemistry continue to surface, and those concerns become magnified when the expectations are this high. Every misstep feels larger, every loss carries more weight, and the urgency to prove that this approach can succeed is impossible to ignore. On the other side of the city, the Yankees are sending a message that does not rely on words, but on performance. Opening day delivered a glimpse of just how dangerous this lineup can be, even under circumstances that would typically limit production. Facing the San Francisco Giants, the Yankees showcased their depth in a way that demands attention. A dominant 7-0 victory set the tone, and what makes it even more impressive is how it unfolded. The top of the lineup, featuring names like Aaron Judge, did not carry the offense in the way many would expect. In fact, there were struggles at the plate that could have slowed down most teams. But this is where the true strength of the Yankees becomes clear. Contributions came from throughout the lineup, proving that this is not a team reliant on a single superstar or a small group of hitters. This is a complete offensive unit capable of generating runs in multiple ways. The ability to chase a pitcher of the caliber of Logan Webb early in the game speaks volumes about the relentless approach of this offense. It is not just about power, although that is certainly a key component. It is about discipline, patience, and a willingness to capitalize on every opportunity. When even the lower part of the order is producing and getting on base, it creates a ripple effect that puts constant pressure on opposing teams. What we are witnessing is a continuation of what made this offense so effective in the previous season. Leading the league in multiple offensive categories was not a coincidence. And performances like this reinforce the idea that maintaining the core of the roster was not just a safe decision, but a strategic one. There were voices calling for major changes, questioning whether running it back would be enough. But early signs suggest that the belief in this group was well placed, and that the ceiling for this lineup remains incredibly high. At the same time, there's an underlying sense that this is only the beginning of what this team can do. When players find their rhythm and the lineup starts clicking from top to bottom, the potential becomes even more intimidating. The Yankees are not just trying to compete. They are positioning themselves as a team that can overwhelm opponents on any given night, regardless of who is on the mound or how the game begins. As the game unfolded, another layer of this Yankees performance started to grab attention, and it had nothing to do with home runs or highlight reel plays. It was about control, composure, and the kind of pitching presence that sets the tone for everything else on the field. Max Fried stepped onto the mound and delivered exactly what this team needed, working deep into the game with a level of precision that kept the opposing lineup completely off balance. Over 6 innings and a third, he shut the door without allowing a single run, dictating the pace and forcing hitters into uncomfortable situations from the very beginning. What stands out even more is how this pitching performance connected perfectly with the offensive explosion we saw earlier. When a team can combine dominant pitching with relentless hitting, it creates a kind of pressure that is nearly impossible to escape. The Giants never found a rhythm, never built momentum, and never looked like they had a clear answer to what the Yankees were throwing at them. It was a complete performance, the kind that sends a message not just to one opponent, but to the entire league. And yet, in the middle of all that action, history quietly unfolded in a way that could reshape how the game is played moving forward. The moment came in the 4th inning, and it involved Jose Caballero stepping into a situation that no player at the major league level had ever faced before. When a pitch from Logan Webb was called a strike, Caballero did something that immediately caught everyone's attention. He challenged the call, signaling for a review using the automated ball strike system, marking the first time this technology had been directly used in a regular season Major League Baseball game. The stadium reaction was a mix of curiosity and anticipation as the decision went under review, with multiple high-speed cameras analyzing the pitch from every possible angle. The system quickly delivered its verdict. The call on the field stood, confirming it as a strike, but the result was almost secondary to the significance of the moment itself. This was no longer an experimental concept limited to the minor leagues or spring training. This was real, it was happening, and it was now part of the game at the highest level. For Caballero, there was no hesitation and certainly no regret. The decision to challenge reflected a mindset that is becoming more common among players, one that embraces accountability and precision. Instead of relying solely on human judgment, there is now an additional layer that offers clarity, even if it does not always change the outcome. It is about understanding the strike zone in a more exact way and using every available tool to gain an edge. Inside the Yankees clubhouse, this transition has not come as a surprise. Manager Aaron Boone has been preparing his players for this shift, emphasizing the importance of knowing when and how to use the challenge system effectively. There is a strategic element to it, a balance between trusting instinct and relying on technology. And as with any new development in sports, there's a learning curve that comes with it. What makes this even more intriguing is how it could influence the rhythm of the game. Pitchers, catchers, and hitters all have to adjust, knowing that certain calls are no longer final the moment they are made. It introduces a new dynamic, one where every borderline pitch carries an added layer of tension. The margin for error becomes smaller, and the demand for precision grows even stronger. At the same time, this evolution does not take away from the human element that has always defined baseball. Instead, it adds another dimension, blending tradition with innovation in a way that could ultimately enhance fairness and consistency. For a team like the Yankees, which thrives on preparation and attention to detail, this could become a significant advantage as the season progresses. Looking back at the overall performance, it is clear that this was more than just a strong opening statement. It was a glimpse into what this team is capable of when everything starts to click. The depth of the lineup, the strength of the pitching staff, and the willingness to adapt to new elements of the game all point to a group that is not content with simply being competitive. There's a sense of urgency, but also confidence, a belief that this roster has what it takes to go further than it did before. And when you combine that mindset with the kind of execution we saw on the field, it becomes clear why expectations remain so high. The Yankees are not just responding to criticism or outside noise. They are setting their own standard, one performance at a time, and making it increasingly difficult for anyone to question the direction they have chosen. As the early part of the season continues to unfold, what becomes increasingly clear is that this Yankees roster is built to endure the long grind of a baseball season. It is not just about explosive games or dominant pitching performances in isolation, but about the balance across the entire roster. When one part of the team has a quiet night, another part steps up, and that is the kind of structure that usually defines teams that go deep into October. The clubhouse confidence grows when players see different teammates becoming the difference makers on different nights. Another important factor in this strong start is the leadership inside the locker room, especially from players who understand the pressure that comes with wearing the Yankees uniform. Aaron Judge continues to set the tone not only with his presence in the lineup, but with the way he handles expectations and responsibility. Even on nights when the hits are not falling, his influence on the team does not disappear. Opposing pitchers still approach every at-bat carefully, and that alone creates opportunities for the hitters around him to see better pitches and produce runs. The depth of the batting order is starting to look like one of the biggest strengths of this team. Pitchers cannot simply navigate around one or two dangerous hitters and relax against the bottom of the lineup. Players throughout the order are capable of extending innings, drawing walks, and driving the ball with authority. Over the course of a long season, this kind of offensive depth wears down pitching staffs, forces early bullpen usage, and creates advantages later in series when opponents start running out of reliable arms. On the pitching side, the stability of the rotation is beginning to draw attention as well. When starters are consistently pitching into the middle innings and handing the ball to the bullpen with a lead, the entire structure of the team becomes stronger. It shortens games, reduces pressure on relievers, and allows the manager to be more strategic instead of reactive. Strong starting pitching has always been a key ingredient for postseason success, and the Yankees appear determined to build that foundation from the very beginning of the season. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the New York Yankees, please subscribe to our channel and give us a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.